Hello, everyone. Thanks for your patience. I'm Dipali Kulshrestha, your host for today's AWS User Group NCR online meetup. And on behalf of AWS UG NCR, I extend a warm welcome to all of you joining us for this session. Today's session is going to be particularly exciting as we have with us an AWS enthusiast, Aman Chopra, who is passionate about sharing his knowledge and learnings with the community. Aman will be walking us through the process of configuring continuous integration in AWS for your CI/CD pipelines. And as always, your active participation is highly encouraged. Please feel free to post your questions and share your thoughts in the comment section to make this session more engaging and fruitful for everyone. Without further ado, let's welcome Aman to the virtual stage. And with that, Aman, over to you.
So, hi everyone, I'm audible now?
Yes, Aman.
Cool. So, hey, uh, so I'll just introduce myself a little bit. So, I'm working as a developer at the Lambda test. I've been exploring AWS since my college days, and it's quite good. So, today we will be working on the session that is, we'll try to implement the end-to-end CI/CD pipeline using the AWS managed services. Um, and I'm expecting that many of you might be knowing about the AWS and what are the EC2, what is CI/CD pipeline. So we'll just try to keep the session like that, like from the basics to a little bit of intermediate level. You can also connect with me via the chats. If you have any doubts, you can just ask there. I'll try to answer your questions. And yes, without a go, let's start the session. Uh, you guys excited? I'm excited. This is my first session, so yeah, I'm excited. So, all right, I think I should start the session. So today's agenda is again we all know that we're going to apply the end-to-end AWS CI/CD pipeline implementation using AWS all the managed services. Just a quick introduction. Like, do you all know about like what is AWS? Like, what is like CI/CD pipeline? Like, if you can just write in the chat section, everyone. If any of you know about the what is like CI/CD. Yes, correct. Continuous integration and deployment, Prince. Yeah, you have some idea. Okay. Yes, it is a workflow implemented in the DevOps processes, correct? Yes. Okay, cool. So we have some answer there. So just a short brief, if I'll give you what is CI/CD is. So as the Prince said, it's the full form is like continuous integration and the continuous deployment. So what does it mean basically? Like what is like continuous integration and what do we mean by the continuous deployment? Right. We're just not here to learn the full form, correct? So basically, what happens when you create an application for any of your user or for your you say like customer, so what you do is you just don't like that application is basically present in your local system as of now, correct? So you're just not going to handle your client, your local machine. Makes no sense. So for that, like to make your application live, you're going to host it somewhere, you're going to deploy it somewhere, right? Maybe it EC2, like Amazon EC2, it can be like S3, or it can be any platform, correct? Now, to implement that process, like to taking your application from your local machine to that platform, to that, suppose like we are talking about EC2, to that EC2 platform, you're going to implement a workflow file. Okay. That workflow file, what it will do is it will create a, you can say like a tunnel or you can say like a pipeline. So what happens is whenever you will create any new commit, any whenever you will create any new changes to your application, um, that pipeline will take that application changes from your suppose you have hosted that application in the GitHub. Okay, so that pipeline will pick those changed code from your application or from your version control to the platform where you have actually deployed your code. In this case it's EC2, and it will deploy it. So this is what we meant by continuous integration and continuous deployment. So you are continuously integrating the changes in your application, and this pipeline, this workflow pipeline is continuously deploying those changes in your application. Hope that makes sense, like what I meant by CI/CD pipeline. If it makes sense, just give it a yes in the comment section, guys, please. Okay, it makes sense. Cool, cool. Thanks everyone. Okay, now let's discuss like why do we need this CI/CD? Like we have got to know like okay, CI/CD is okay, necessary is it's necessary, but what are the benefits of implementing the CI/CD pipeline? We can aren't there any other ways of like making this as a streamlined process? So yeah, so let's discuss. The first thing is the faster deployment. So what happens is like when you create a pipeline, okay, it helps you to manage the deployment very rapidly. Okay, you have changes a little bit of code, and your pipeline will get triggered at that time only, at that particular time. You committed the changes, you push those changes in your suppose let's say in the GitHub, and that action will get triggered and it will get deployed at that particular moment only in your application. So this is how like within a fraction of seconds it will get deployed. So that's the first benefit, and it's the major benefit that all the organization want, that the product should release very fast. Okay, now the increased agility, then the reduced cost. Yes, correct, maintaining the CI/CD pipeline is very low maintenance thing. Okay, you don't have to spend a lot of money in maintaining these pipelines, these workflows thing. Now improved collaboration, correct, like even if you have group of DevOps engineers or cloud engineers, like they all can collaborate and they can just commit into your CI/CD pipeline workflows, they can just commit into your applications, and they you just what you need to do is you just need to trigger that workflow file for that particular branch in their committing. So it's all good. Easier rollbacks. So you have just what I meant by easier rollback is like you have pushed the changes in your code, you triggered the pipeline, but now you're observing that that particular code is like making your site or application as a down. Okay, it's creating some it's like it's creating some errors in your application, so you can just easily roll back to the previous version. Okay, it's damn easy. Hope that makes sense. What was the CI part? Can you explain again? So CI is just a continuous integration part. What happens is like if I'll just repeat it. The whatever you are just committing your code. Okay, so you have a particular piece of code in your version control. Suppose let's say GitHub, and you can just continuously integrate it. You're just continuously pushing the changes to that particular piece of code, and that is getting managed by this pipeline. So this is what I meant by continuous integration. Hope that makes sense. So you all have got the benefits of CI/CD pipeline, like why we are going to use the CI/CD, right? Apart from these, there are other benefits as well. Like it's very easy to manage. It's like it's create a clean and crystal workflow files. So there are lots of other things as well. Okay, but these are the some major that the organizations or you can say like industries are majorly focusing on, and that's why they are using these CI/CD pipeline concept. Okay, so yeah, let's get next to it. So this is the complete AWS managed service flowchart, or you can select the diagram. That what actually happens is, suppose you are a user, you have a code, okay, and then you just this code commit. Let's discuss about some managed services that AWS provides you, and then we'll discuss like how we are working on it. We'll go to the hands-on. Okay, so this code commit is basically nothing, just a AWS managed GitHub. Okay, so like you all have might like you might have all used the GitHub, right? It's a version control system. So the same way AWS has a code commit. Okay, then the code build. So this code build, this particular service, what this code build do is it basically build your files. Okay, or build your pipeline. You can say like it takes your application. So suppose you have created a React application. So that React application needs to be built first, correct, before going into the deployment or the pipeline, you can say like. So this code build helps to, yeah, building with your applications. Then the pipeline workflow. Okay, so like the whole command that we're going to write, like about the work pipeline, is managed by this code pipeline service. Then the code deploy, like how your application is going to be deployed and where it is going to be deployed, this thing is managed by the code deploy service. And then at last it's EC2, where it is going to be deployed. So in place of EC2 you can use S3 as well, you can use ECS, you can whatever service you want to use for the AWS. So this is the complete workflow file, workflow chart, or you can select the diagram. So for which you can use AWS services for your complete end-to-end CI/CD pipeline. Does that make sense? Is it making sense? Like you're understanding the this complete process, implementation process, like what we are going to do actually. We'll just try to implement till the pipeline part, maybe because of the time constraint. And if the time allows, we'll try to implement the deploy and the EC2 part. Okay, yes, makes sense. Cool. So yeah, let's get into the hands-on settings. We'll just set up the pipeline. We'll uh, okay, for the sake of easiness, since you all are familiar with the GitHub, right? So we will be using the GitHub first instead of CodeCommit, because that is going to be very very easy for you also to understand and for you also to manage as well. Okay, we can use a CodeCommit. That's not an even issue. But for the sake of easiness, I'm going to use the GitHub. Okay, and basically they both are very very similar, so it's nothing to be worry about. I'll show you the code commit as well, how to create a code commit and repository there, and how to upload the files there as well. But yeah, for the implementation part we will be using the GitHub. Okay, all right, shall I move forward? So this is the AWS console dashboard. I believe you all are very, very familiar with this dashboard, right? Is there anyone who is seeing this dashboard for the first time? Like everyone is familiar with this dashboard, correct? Just a quick response will be helpful, guys. Yeah, correct. Okay, and if you can write down what are the services you have used in the AWS till now, it will be much more better. What AWS services you guys have used? Okay, so EC2, S3, load balancer, autoscaler. Cool. EC2, S3. Right. S3, glue. Okay, we have some. Okay. ECR. All right. Redshift. Lambda. Nice. I've used EC2, S3 once. Ah, that's nice. EC2. All right. So I guess everyone is like familiar with the EC2. So the first service that we are going to create is the EC2. Okay. So let's create the EC2 first. If I'll just make mistake, you can write in the chat sections as well. Okay. Since I'm also right, I can make mistakes. Make sure you are just focusing here and you're correcting me as well. If you see that I'm making some mistake in the process. So yeah. So let's just create a launch instance. All right. Let's name this. So we can name this as AWS demo. Okay. SL AWS CI/CD demo. Okay. This is going to be the name of instance. Let's just choose an OS. I'll go with the Ubuntu one. We're going to use the free tier. Just don't want to uh, expire my credits. Right. And we are going to be with the T2 micro, that is the free tier. Correct. Let's just create a key pair. So do I have an existing key pair? Okay, I don't have. Let's just create a new key pair. So right, I have. So let's just keep RSA pem file, create a key pair. All right, this key pair is downloaded. Cool. Let's just go to the network settings. I'm just gonna use the default VPC. Okay, assign public address. Yeah, we do need this public IP to make sure that this is enabled. And yes, I'm just gonna use the security group, or you can use the existing security group if you have any. So I have just this default. I'll just go with this default one. Okay, so yeah, it's fine. Yeah, nothing much to do in the EC2 right now. Let's just launch the instance. Let's see. Yeah, it's in the pending status. Let's just skip it till here. Okay, by the time it's get ready, we'll just let's just work on the other services. Okay, so the very first thing that here is we have created our EC2. Okay, the very first service we have created our EC2. Now we are gonna work on the other services like the code build, code pipeline, code deploy. Okay, and for the code commit, since I we are using the AWS, sorry, GitHub. So here's the GitHub repo that we are gonna use. It's very simple index file and the style CSS file, so we will be using this only. Okay, it's not pretty much, but yeah, for the demo purpose it's fine. So let's, and yes, for the sake of um, best practice, let me just tell you that I am using the root account. Okay, but it is not recommend. If you are practicing this in your organization, it's always recommend that you use the IAM defined users. Okay, like you're a IAM user, IAM. All of you have used the IAM. If you're familiar with the IAM, just write down the yes or no, whatever it is. Yes. Okay. Cool. All right. I guess people are familiar with the IAM and what are the roles and what are the policies and services. So what we have to do is we just need to create two roles, two IAM roles. Okay. Let's just create our first role. I'm just gonna search IAM role here, and yes. So yep, we'll just create a role, and we need the AWS service role, and we will be searching about the code build. Okay, so like code build. So what we are going to do is, if I'll just explain you the workflow, that we will be firstly creating a code build. Okay, and for this code build, we need some roles. Okay, like to grant the, basically roles are like the granting some permissions that this particular service can perform such kind of things. Okay, I'm just going to provide this code build certain permissions. Okay, I've used the code build. So yes, code build. Next, and here okay, what you have to do is here you need to provide certain permissions. Okay, and to what permissions you're going to provide. So basically here I'm just providing the SSM permission. Okay, now what is this SSM permission is? So basically it's a system manager permission. Okay, now system manager permission is like suppose if you are so basically, if you're using the environment variables, or you can say like some secrets, okay. So instead of defining it somewhere in your repositories or files, you can use this SSM permissions, and it will give you the benefit of that. So let's just click next. You can create a role name. So I'm just AWS demo code build. Okay. Um, Make sure you all remember these role names. Okay. Not now. Like it will help you. Okay. So we are going to define different roles as well, and we're going to create different roles and define different permissions as well. As of now, it's fine. Okay. Now let's just go to code build. Let's just go to the code build. Oh, by the way, If I have to show you the code commit as well, I can show you. If you want to explore, you can just go, you can create a repository here. So suppose if I'll just write AWS um, UGNCR only. Okay, it's my repository name. You can add tags if you want to, or if it's optional basically. Okay, and we don't need these configuration. I just use the manage key. I'll just create, and yes, see, this is what I'm talking about. You are signed in as a root account. You can configure SSH, but consider signing as an IAM and then setting up your connection. Like basically, it's AWS is also telling me that it's okay that you're a root user account, but it is a best practice that you use the IAM user account. Okay, so this is how like you can just create a simple repository. My repository is being created, and yeah, I can just, yeah, it's an empty repository. I can just add files or create files. So if I'll have to create files, suppose I'm just giving it as a index.html. Author name is Aman. Email, let's just keep this. Okay. If I want to give a commit message, no, it's fine. And you're just gonna keep, so suppose let's just keep this file only. Okay. Just a simple file, just for the demo purpose. Just commit changes. So see, this is how like you can create a repository, and in that particular repository, this is my repository. Here I have the file index.html. Okay, and you can just clone the URL here via HTTPS, SSH, or like whatever, just like the GitHub. Okay, if you want to create a pull request, you can create a pull request. If you want to add another file, you can just create or upload your file. Best practice is to use the CLI, but for the demo purpose, I'm just using the UI so that you can understand like how the things are working. CLI is good when you're using, like when you are familiar with all the things. Okay, but for the start it's always better that you use the um, user interface so that you can understand what actually is happening here. Okay, like how this AWS whole thing is working, like what are the things is gonna be on the workflow. Okay, so yeah, see, I have two files now, index.html and style.css. Okay, so this is my AWS commit, like code commit. This is how like you can code commit. Yes, created IAM user with the least province. Yeah, that's fine. Even if you have worked with IAM, it's fine. Like you know, like how to work with that, like how to assign the permissions, how to assign the roles, and how to create a users. That's okay. All right. So I guess our instance is also created, running, and yes, all the checks are passed. Cool. Right. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go to the code build. We were going to the code build, but right. And here we are just going to create a service. Okay, we are going to create a service. Let's just create a project, and we need to give this as a project name, and let's say just a second, AWS, we are following the demo, and then we are following the code build. All right, and we have to give the source provider. So we are using GitHub. Like our source code is present both in the GitHub and in the code commit as well. Okay, so let's go with the GitHub. If you guys are okay with that. Yes, GitHub is okay. Okay, right. So what usually you're gonna face here is like, since my connections are established already, so yeah, it's gonna be like this. But for you, it will be like connect from GitHub. Okay, so you have to just click on that connect from GitHub button, and it will ask you for the permissions and for the auth, like the simple permissions like the password, and that's okay. So yeah, let's just create a, like just set the repository. So this is the repository, and yes, so its source version is optional completely, so you can just skip this, and nothing much to provide here. And what you can do is, okay, let's say additional information, it's fine. Yes, so I am using Ubuntu here, correct? On demand EC2, yes, correct. We are using the EC2 as well. Runtime, I'm just gonna keep the standard only. Image, so we are gonna go with the latest image. Okay, so see, I always use the latest image for this runtime, right? And now we can either use the existing service roles, or you can just create a new service role. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, we have the demo code build service role. This, okay, allow demo code. So this is the service role that we have created here. If you guys remember, see, this is the service code, right? This is what here it's just coming. AWS, right? Enable this flag to search. Okay, it can enable, and yeah, this is the thing. Like insert a build command or use a build spec file. So let's just discuss about it a little bit about it here. So what is build spec file? Okay, the build spec file is basically um, it's a code build file. Okay, so you might have heard about the GitHub Actions. Like GitHub Actions has the workflow.yaml file. How many of you guys have worked on that? Even if you have not worked with that, you can just write it no or yes, whatever your answer is. Workflow YAML file by the GitHub Actions. Yes, okay. Harish has worked on this. Okay. No other person has worked on that? Okay. I'll just give you the brief intro what this is. Okay. Uh, I know what a YAML file is for, but never okay worked on it. Okay, particularly GitHub Actions. Okay, so I'll just give you the brief intro. What is this build spec file and why I've just used the reference for the GitHub Actions is so basically this build spec file, as you can see here, yeah, it is written as well. Like enter commands you want to run during the build phase. Okay, so what happened during the GitHub Actions also? If you create a GitHub Actions workflow file as well, so there you will see that YAML file will contain a build commands. Again, if I'll take a very simple example, your React application also needs to be built, right? That npm run build, correct? So this is how like your whole code also needs to get built before getting deployed, and that in such workflow file, you just provide those commands that are required for that. Okay, so that is why we use the build spec file. Like in this AWS, because we are using the code deploy, so that code deploy uses the YAML file that is called build spec file. Okay, nothing. It's just a simple YAML file that is used to that contains the commands to build your application. Okay, simple YAML file. Though, by the way, I don't think so since our application is too easy, like too, you can say like it's just simple HTML and CSS command. So I don't think so we need to build anything, right? But you can use it as per your application. I'll just switch to editor since we don't have any build command. So I'll just write it here as like echo simple, um, building a static site. Simple echo command will do. If I you can just switch to editor as well. So see, this is how it works. Okay, and if you want you can just give this command as well, like it will just copy to like copy all your files from the, you can say like root file from, or you can say like the root path to the build if it creates a build. Okay, nothing, just a simple like define the version of the YAML file, then the phases. Okay, phases is by default for the AWS. Build what build, like here you're defining like I'm going to create a build, and then the commands you're gonna define like what commands you're gonna need, like what are the steps you're gonna need for building your application. So since we're using the HTML CSS, I don't need a build. I'm just printing a echo, like a simple string that I'm building a static site, and I'm just copying all my files to the build folder if it creates a build folder. Okay, right. So I don't need any artifacts here as well because again, right, and this, okay. I'll just, we don't need CloudWatch logs as well. You can check this, but yeah, for this demo we don't need one. Okay, if I'll just create a build project, let's see. All right, so my code build is perfectly created. So right, we have implemented the two steps. This code commit, instead of this code commit, we have used the GitHub. This part is done, and we have perfectly created our code build. Now let's go to the code pipeline section. Okay, how this code pipeline works. Let's try to understand this. We'll just go deep dive, and yeah, I'll try to create it subtle, very subtle. Right. So this is all, like, just go to the console, search the code pipeline. Here only the code pipeline, and yeah, you will get here. And now what you have to do is you need to create a pipeline, obviously. Okay. So this pipeline, what this pipeline is, it's basically, um, you can say, kind of acts like a bridge between your build file and your deployment file. Okay, now you've defined ki, like, what part of your application you want to build and how you want to build. And in the code deploy section, you will define, like, after this code pipeline, you will define ki, like, what you want to, like, what things you're going to deploy. Okay, now how you going to manage those things, like how this build file and this deploy file going to work together. So for that we need code pipeline service. Okay, let's go to the code pipeline, and click on the create pipeline. Very simple. And yeah, I'll just, let's just name this AWS demo code pipeline. Let's give this, and I can just keep it version 2 pipeline type. Yeah, that's fine. And okay, we can create a new service role, or you can use the existing service role again. Okay, but we're just going to create a new service role. Okay, we're not going to use the existing service roles. And allow the AWS code pipeline to create a service. Yes. Okay. Variables you can define. It's gonna be again optional. Let's just click on the next. Yes, source provider. So what source provider we are using? So we are, let me just ask you guys, what source provider we are using. Is it CodeCommit, or is it a GitHub? What is our source provider? Cool, it's GitHub. So we are going to use the GitHub version 2. Okay, it's GitHub version 2. You need to create an connection with your GitHub. Okay, since, let's just create connection. You can create a connection name. Let's say AWS demo um, pipeline connection. So you're just gonna wait a little bit. It's some time taking stuff. And okay, so here you will just get see, you need to install the GitHub apps actually. Okay? Or basically it's a link between your this AWS and this the GitHub. Okay, that's this thing, this number, just create a connection. So if you don't have this, you can just simply create excuse me guys, you can just simply click on the install a new app, and it will help you with that. It's nothing, just it will create it will just ask for the authentications and nothing else. Okay, and this number will be generated. So just click on connect. All right, let's see if I'm being able to use. Yes, your connection is ready to use. Okay, it has not created any error. So if it has created, we would have just done this step again. Okay, let's select the repository. So yep, master is my default branch. For the confirmation, we can check again. Here's a master branch. You can select the master branch. Right. Mm, I'm just gonna keep the code pipeline default only. Okay, we're just not gonna provide the full clone. Okay. Right. Trigger specify filter, no need of any filter. Push, if any changes are pushed, it will trigger the pipeline. Okay, you can see. Choose the event type for trigger that starts your pipeline. So if anything like you push to your code, okay, it will trigger the pipeline. Okay, choose the filtered type, so like branches. Okay, it's fine. These all are the things that you can either specify or you can just keep it as like by default. It's all optional. Just click on the next. Now you're gonna say the build provider. Who is your build provider? Again, who is our build provider? Is it Jenkins, Code Build, or anything else? I hope like session is not getting too much boring and um, like out of the league. I'm just trying to explain as in as subtle way as possible. If it is okay with you guys, correct the code build, and it has selected the region Asia Pacific in Mumbai region. Okay, let's just choose the project name. Right. So the project name is out again code build. We have just created this. If you guys remember, in the here only. Right. So we don't need to set up the environment variables again. Like if you have that kind of a project where you want to set up the environment variables, just click here and you can set up your environment variables. It's fine. But since this project, nothing, not okay. I'm just getting a single build. Let's just okay. And then what we're gonna do is see okay. We can next. Now we need to provide the deployer. Acha, one thing, since we haven't created our code deploy functionality, okay, if you will just see here, right, we have not touched this service yet, right? So that's why I'm just um, skipping this step for right now, but we will come back to this step again in the later. Okay, so I'm just click on this skip deploy stage. So your pipeline will not see here. I've got a message as well. Like your pipeline will not include a deployment stage. Are you sure you want to skip this stage? Yes, I just want to skip this stage. Let's see. Right. So correct. All this is correct. Okay. I can just click on the create pipeline. Let's see if it works. Hmm. Okay. All right. Let's come to this. What is this error? The trigger configuration for the source action is not valid. Make sure to choose one trigger configuration for each source action. All right. Looks all good here. Yes, everything looks fine. Okay, the pipelines are nothing. Yes, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I think it's fine. The trigger configuration. The source is not valid. Okay. Why it's not valid? Okay, all right. So now let's gonna work on the deploy section. Okay, now let's gonna work on the code deploy. So let's just search here. Do we have the code deploy? Right. Hmm. Okay. Now this code deploy service. So till now we have talked about this code commit, code build, code pipeline, EC2. Okay. Now this is the last service that we're going to talk about. That is the code deploy service. Yes, I've changed the filter to no filter. We don't. Okay. I've just so you can keep the filter. That's not an issue. Okay. You can keep the filters if you want to. That is the optional thing. All right. Now we need to create a deployment. Okay, like the code deploy. So let's just go to the applications. We'll just create one application. Okay. Let's say what we can say like AWS co AWS demo code deploy app. Okay. And in the compute we are all right. Just tell me here what we are gonna keep about the compute platform. What is gonna be our compute platform? Can you guys tell me? So this compute platform is going to be that in which you're gonna deploy your changes. All right, right. So in this case, for this particular demo, no. We are not using the lambda. Okay, so we are using the EC2. For this demo, we are using the EC2. Like you can use the lambda. Okay, like if you have initiated it. Yes. For this case, it's EC2. Or EC2 or on premises. All right. Let's just create an application. So our application is created right now. Okay, and just a second, let me just check the status of ec2 instance. Yes, our ec2 instance is already done. All right, so what we have to do now is we need to connect our terminal, or you can select the local machine to the ec2 instance. Okay, we need to do some kind of a basic setups. So for that we need the terminal access. To just launch the terminal, I'm using the Mac. If you are using like the whatever the you're using, Windows or Linux or Ubuntu, totally up to you. That's not an issue. All right. Okay. Let's just get into this. What you have to do is you need to just okay. Do anyone knows about the command, that SSH command that we generally use to connect our local terminal to the EC2 terminal to the EC2 instance basically? Anyone can write that command. All right, I guess. So that command is basically ssh hyphen I. Okay. Then you're gonna provide the location of your PEM file. I don't exactly. That's fine. So basically, yes, you use the IP address, but here like ssh hyphen I. Okay, and then you're gonna use the location of your PEM file. So your location is gonna be basically downloads. Like it's my location. So whatever your location is, just choose accordingly that. Okay, AWS CI/CD PEM file. And yep, again we have not provided our the you're going to provide your OS that you're using. So in this case, like we are going to use the Ubuntu. Okay, then what we're going to use is we need our public IP address of the EC2 instance. So at the rate, and you can find your public IP address. Just go to this and you can see this is the public IP address. Don't use my IP address. Okay, please. Yeah. let's say if it establish a connection, or maybe it can ask for some certain permissions. Let's see.
So, Aman, actually, your secondary terminal where you are like writing this SSH, this is not visible. We are just able to see the AWS screen.
Okay, my terminal is not visible. Just a second then. Just a second, guys. Let me just check this. Should work. Alright, it's not working. Then okay, wait. Okay, I guess it's causing certain issues in presenting the terminal. Hmm, that's strange. Is my terminal visible now?
No, Aman, not yet.
You guys can see the AWS, right? AWS console and all.
Console is visible. Yep.
Console is visible. Terminal is not. My terminal is not
Okay.
visible.
Possibly that's fine because I think nothing much to do on terminal, I believe. So maybe you can just paste
All right.
those commands in the chat for everyone's response because I know in Mac you need to authenticate each and every application. So that is a little
Right,
tricky.
right.
So in interest of
So,
time, let's continue
right,
and just keep on just copying pasting commands here in the chat window.
right. So, like public IP address. Okay. And here it is, your PEM file. So, yeah. I think it's visible in the chats key.
Not yet though.
Okay, are shared in the chats. Just a second.
Or you can ping that to me. I will share on the chat.
Hmm. I guess you can
Yes, we
see
can see
now.
that
Oh,
now. There was a little
okay.
lag, yeah.
Yeah, of course, that's internet issue. All right. So this is the command that you can use, okay, to create a connection between your local terminal, or you can say like the local machine or your laptop, and to the EC2 instance. Okay. And this connection, creating this connection is really necessary, guys, because like how you gonna just communicate between your local terminal, between your local machine to the EC2. Okay. So that's why you must create this connection, establish this connection. All right. Proceeding next, then you need to install. Wait, I'll just share this thing with you. You can see this documentation page. I'll just share this documentation page as well in the chats. Yes, correct. Remote connection. So, hmm, I have shared two documentation links as well. Okay, you can check those documentation links, and in those documentation links, you will see there are the commands listed to how to install the code deploy agent for the Ubuntu server. Okay, so this is actually very necessary to install. The, just a second. Okay. It's again lagging. Okay, so these agents are really necessary to install in your terminal. Okay, for the code deploy, so that your code deploy can actually work, your can actually connect with your server and can perform all the operations. Okay, you don't have to do anything, you just follow the commands listed, just follow step by step process. I'll just go through with this. You need to install, basically you need to update the packages. Okay, since the time is also less and my terminal is also not visible, so I'll just go through the documentation only. Okay, then you need to install the Ruby. So Ruby is the machine that Ruby is the framework we are using here. And then you need to install the wget. Okay, now you need to enter this command. So basically you're just driving to the, like you're just changing the directory here, and you need to install this command. Okay, now what this command is basically doing is this command is basically containing two things. Your first is your bucket name, and the second one is the your region identifier. Okay, now this both of you have not created, right? Like both of the things you guys have not created, like you have not created any S3 bucket, and neither you have defined the region. Okay, so then how are you going to get this? By the second documentation here. So in whatever region you are, so region you can find in the console here. I'm in the Mumbai region. Okay, see Asia Pacific Mumbai, AP South one. Okay, so you can just select wherever your region is. So you can just see AP South one, Asia Pacific. It's Hyderabad. Yes, it's Asia Pacific Mumbai. So this is my region identifier, and this is my bucket name. This is my bucket name. See, this one is my bucket name and this one is my region identifier. So you're just gonna rename this bucket name from here and define your bucket name with respect to your region and install these things. Then you need to give the um, full access permission to this install CLI, and then just follow this one of the step, like sudo install or this one. Okay, so you can just go with this one only, that's fine, that's totally fine. You're just going to use any of these commands and the rest of is fine. Just check this one, like whether your code deploy agent is um, working or not by using this status one. Okay, if it throws an error, then you need to again do perform the same things, and if not, you're good to go. Okay, and let's just go again. Since you have just created a deployment, I mean, like you have defined all the code deploy things and you have created an agent as well, you have defined the agent as well. Now let's just go to the IAM role and just see like how to perform the code deploy roles. Okay, here you need to again create another role. Okay, this another role will be for the code deploy. The first role that we have created was for the code build. Now this role you need to create for the code deploy, and you need to provide full access to the code deploy, like the service of the code deploy and the EC2 access as well. Okay, so that they both can communicate. Even if you'll just go to the diagram as well here, see this code deploy needs to communicate with the EC2 and with the pipeline or the build as well. Okay, so for the two-way communication, we need this two permissions. Let's just create first role again for the service that you are using. So we are using the code deploy service we are going to use. Yes, code deploy, and yes. So the first permission that is like we have got is the code deploy role. Automatically we have got this AWS code deploy role, so you can just check the permissions access as well. So it contains all the things. Okay, and second, okay, let's just click on the next, enter the role name to AWS code deploy. You can add another permission as well. If I'm not wrong, it's from here only. Okay, let's just add in next. Just a second. Create a role. So this code deploy. You guys need to add another permission as well. Just a second. that permission is for the EC2. Okay, so you're gonna need the EC2 full access. You can just provide the EC2 full access. This is for just again for the demo purpose. You you better just follow the industry practices. Okay, whatever your organization is saying, to like whatever the roles you need to install. Just click on the add permission. Okay, so these both roles are attached. Now what you have to do is you just need to again go to our, basically you have to go to the terminal again and you need to restart that service, the service that the agent service, you need to restart that again. Okay, and you need to update this service in our IM as basically EC2 as well. So just go to the EC2, go to the actions, click on the security, manage modify IM roles, and you can just, okay, if you choose no IM role, it should come here by now, but it's not coming. Hmm. By default this is strange, why no role is showing. Let's just check. Why it is saying us to create a new IAM role. Deploy. Right, it's correct. Hmm. Let's just check this again. If it's working, still not showing. Yep. I don't know what was the issue with that particular role. Right. Okay. So we have just updated our roles here. Okay, now what you have to do is you need to again go to the code deploy and you need to establish that connection basically. Okay, so how you just gonna do that? Let's just go to the code deploy, and here you need to create your deployment group basically. Okay, you'll just create a deployment group. Let's just enter AWS demo deployment group. You need to enter service role, so we're just going to use this service role only. Okay, and you're going to use the EC2 instance, and it's going to be in place only. Okay, we're not following the blue green practice, we're going to follow the in place practice only. And yes, you can give the name as well. So basically you can give the tags, and you can see this has got one unique match. Okay, right. So let's just click on the code deploy, and we don't need the load balancing, so we can just, yeah. So okay, deployment group is also created successfully. Okay, now what you have to do is you can just simply go to the again you need to go to the applications like here, and you need to what you have to do is, inside this deployment group, you need to click on the create deployment. Okay, and here we're just gonna perform the complete deployment thing. But before, what happens here is, see, your application is stored in S3 or no? My application is stored in GitHub. Okay, this is basically my username. This token name is basically my username. Okay, you need to give the repository name. Just copy it from here, and this commit ID is basically for the checking, like your connection is established or not. Okay, so you can just provide the last commit here, any of the commit that you have made. So you just provide the commit ID. So this is my commit ID. I'll just a second. I'll just copy this. Okay. Yep. And yeah, apart from this, we don't think we need this anything. And provide the repo name, or you can just leave the commit ID as like it's optional. Okay, you can just leave it like that only. Let's just click on create deployment. Let's see if it works. Okay, this is a required field. The commit ID contains invalid characters, so this incomplete. So can you guys tell me what mistake I made? Basically, I have not provided the full SHA command. Okay, full SHA for the code commit. So yeah, this is how like my complete deployment setup is ready. Okay, complete deployment setup is ready. I mean, it's in progress right now, obviously. Right, so it's gonna take some time. And now what you have to do is you need to go to the pipeline. Where was our code pipeline? Right, our our build has failed. Okay, that's fine. That's completely fine. It happens. Okay, but you can see here. Let's just, okay, now what you have to do is, this is actually going to take some time. Okay, so what we are gonna I'll just tell you what you have to do here is, you're just gonna need click on the edit. Okay, this edit button, and you're just gonna add a stage here first. So basically you have added the source. Just follow this file, this thing. This our source, this our pipeline, this our deployment, and EC2. Okay, so this is what we are going to practice here as well. We have got the source, we have got the build, and we're just going to add the deploy. So just write code, or just you can just write the deployer. Okay, to add a stage, and you can just write the complete action names. Okay, and action providers and everything. So since we are using the code build, okay, and yeah, just keep it as a source artifact only. Just provide the name, AWS demo code action, anything. Okay, you're gonna provide the project name. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep this project name again. Okay, variable names are optional, so let's just click on the done, and it's okay. Okay, so this is how like you click. Obviously you need to click on the save. Sorry, my bad. So my pipeline is successfully done. Okay, so this is how like my complete AWS thing is established. Obviously there are, I guess, issue with the build thing, so I just need to check what is causing the issue. Okay, so yep, my logs are also disabled, so I just gonna need to do the complete thing. But we have created our complete pipeline thing, our complete end-to-end pipeline. We have just created a source, we have created the build, and we have created the deployed as well. Okay, so this is how like you can create the end-to-end. Got the mistake? Okay, tell me what was the mistake? All right. So this was our complete end-to-end implementation. You being the user created a code commit service, or you have used a GitHub service. Then you created the build. Then you created the pipeline, and you established the deployment. And where you have deployed it in the EC2. Okay. So this was the complete end-to-end thing. So yeah, I guess we are already past time, but I can yes, regarding the yes. So we are already past time, but we can take some questions if you have. So I'll be happy doing that. But I'll just stop sharing my screen right now. So if you guys have any question, you can ask in the chats, or if you don't have, you can also like connect to me on my social handles, and yeah, I'll be happy to help you there. If you have any kind of issue, or if you want to discuss anything, so that is also completely fine with me. I kind of am active in my social handles, so yeah, just connect with me on my LinkedIn or with my Twitter, X, and GitHub. Okay, you just can connect with me there. I also write some blogs, so you just go there, read those blogs, comment like if you find something helpful, or if you find like, yeah, this should be done, this should be written, or improvement, or whatever it is. Okay, what to do in the deploy stage? Can you um, again in short on AWS? Okay, what to do in the deployment stage? So basically, what you have to do is you firstly need to create the action. Okay, basically it's still in progress. So acha, at the very end. Okay, so what you so in the very end here you have to do, okay, like after creating the actions and everything, like okay, like the you created the deployment files as well, and app spec file and everything you have done. Okay, so what you have to do is you just need to go to the code pipeline section. Okay, you have already established the source and the build. You need to add a so basically you need to click on the edit. Then you need to add a stage. In the stage you need to add the deploy section. Okay, this deploy is basically your code deploy. Okay, so you need to add that and establish the proper end-to-end connection. Okay, and click on the save button. That's the last thing you have to do. And whenever you will now trigger the file, trigger your like you will just push any kind of a changes in your application, this whole pipeline will get triggered and it will release the changes, or you can manually do as well, so that is also fine. But since it's still in progress, so makes no sense right now to do it.
Okay, in interest of time, I would suggest like just try these out, try out these things offline, and let us know if you want a focus session, dive deep into the specific like configurations and all, because I understand when we do this stuff at the for the first time, we get into a lot of configuration issues. And I
Right.
have also shared a link in the chat for as additional resource. This is a course which I created. It is available on LinkedIn Learning. So it is around creating CI/CD pipeline in AWS. So here also it is a roughly 2 hours duration course, and here you will get all these stages, the various like detailed configuration step by step guide to create that. So you can also refer this one, but feel free to let us know if you want like one to one or a small group session on a specific debugging or like specific issues. We'll be happy to conduct that. Okay, with that, thank you everyone, and thanks very much, Aman.
Thanks
And
Deepali for having me. Thanks everyone for joining.
yes. And please let us know if you want us to plan sessions on other topics, sessions or like deep dive labs, so we can plan it accordingly. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening ahead.
Thank you everyone, bye.